see. Well, I'm gonna take a picture of it all here. It was it has 69 people. Alright. So this it? This everybody? Alright. Y'all ready? Alright. So today I have the pleasure of introducing today's first speaker. This speaker was elected to the bench in 1984 for the 13th Judicial District. He served as circuit for 30 years, retiring in 2014. He is also the former Boys State chairman, serving as chairman for 37 years. He has been a driving force behind the success of the Tennessee Boys State program and continues to serve the program as vice chairman. Please welcome our first speaker.
Thank you very much, Governor, and thank you, Boys Staters, for getting up this morning. Let's see, you just rolled out of bed just a little while ago, right? No? It's been longer than that then. Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you. It seems as though I do remember. The material you're about to see is copyrighted, the American Legion Department of Tennessee, but when we get through this program, you won't be able to forget it, because this is one of the really important things that can happen to you in your entire life. Now, when I talk to somebody, I ask them about their friends. And you know, we enjoy life through the friends that we have. And in addition, your life is defined by the friends that you have. If you run around with people that are always in trouble, that are breaking the rules and doing things that they shouldn't be doing, that defines your life. But if you run with people that are natural born leaders, as you're going to be when you go back to your respective high schools, then you'll be in a position where you'll know that your life is a good one, and everybody else who meets you and meets your friends knows that you're a really special person too. Well, without saying my name, I would like for those who remember my name from last night to raise your hand. I see 4 or 5 hands. That's okay. I just was asking you about that. When I get through with this program, you'll probably have a hard time forgetting my name, so get ready, and here we go. The program today is Remembering Names and Faces, and the question that comes up is, why in the world would you want to remember a person's name and attach it to their face? And there's several reasons. One of those reasons is to impress whoever you're remembering and whoever you're naming. Another reason is to influence them. You may be running for school office, or you may be wanting to get a certain thing done in your high school. The fact that you can call their name and know their name, that will help you influence what you want to have happen. You also learn people's names to be able to communicate. And if you come up to me and say, whatever, and you know, I'm not paying much attention, but if you look me right in the eye and say, Judge Maddux said, we need this done. And so you'll impress people, and you'll make them want to communicate with you about the thing that's on your mind. Also, if you can do this, remembering names and faces, you'll be able to sell, and you'll be able to sell your product, you'll be able to sell your ideas, and you'll be able to sell yourself as an individual. So all of those reasons are good. And then, of course, if you can create and maintain friendships, then this program and what you're about to learn will be worth it. So the question is, how smart do you have to be to remember names and places? Well, I can tell you that my experience at American Legion Boys State was one where I wish they had taught this program. It wasn't available at that time. But this is something that you can do. And when I first started as the chairman for American Legion Boys State, they had a special program on the law. And so I got the headshots of all of the kids in all the delegates in these front 3 cities, and then I memorized 2 or 3 names in the balcony. And so I stood out here and I started talking about it and how it would work, and I'd say, how about you, Mr. Smith? And he'd jump. I'd say, stand up, Mr. Smith, that's your name, isn't it? And he'd stand up, and all the kids around him were laughing and pointing at him. And so then I'd call all those delegates around him, and then I started calling delegates down to the left and delegates down to the right. And during that program, I think I called the names of almost 100 delegates. And so the idea here is that this program, if I can do it, you're going to be able to do it too. You don't have to be an Einstein to do this. I've got a challenge for you. My challenge for you is, by noon Wednesday of this week, to know the name of every delegate in your city. How many of you think you can do that? Raise your hand if you think you can do that. Absolutely. You can do that. And that'll be a test for you to see, if this is working for you. So that's my challenge to you. There are 5 easy steps for remembering a person's face and remembering that person's name. The first one is to be interested. I'm going to run through these fast, and so you don't have to take notes. Please don't take notes. It's not necessary. So I'll run through these fast, and then I'll talk about each of them individually. First, you need to be interested. Second, you need to get the name of who you're talking to and trying to be able to remember their name and face. You need to repeat the name. We'll talk about what that means. You need to associate the name with a mental image, and I'll give you some specifics on that. And then finally, write the name down. I'm going to talk about 3 names here during this program. All 3 of those are found in the inside cover of your blue book. Don't pull your blue book out yet, but recognize you don't have to write those names down because they're already there. The acronym for being able to do this is INRAW, I-N-R-A-W. And the first part of that acronym is INRAW, is to be interested. The I stands to be interested. And the question I have for you is, without interest, there isn't anything that's going to happen. So be sure you're interested. And I ask you, what interests you? What is there that interests you? And the answer is sports, You might be interested in sports. And there are different kinds of sports out there that would be available to you maybe. And I'm not suggesting anything specific, but you know what things you're interested in and what things you're not necessarily interested in. So number 2, get the name. That's the N in NRAW. Now when you get that name, the way to do it is to listen. When you're introduced to somebody, listen to what's said and ask that person to repeat their name, because a lot of times people have come up, have been standing with me, and somebody else will say, oh, I want you to meet Judge blah, 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 blah. Well, you don't know who I am. And so you wait, and so you ask again, now what did you say your name was? And so the person that you're wanting to remember their name and face, they'll give you that information. When they get that information, repeat that name over and over as you're looking at them, and your mind will make a mental image of the person and the face that you're trying to remember. Ask the person how to spell the name. Ask the person about the origin of the name. All of those things are things that you need to do to be able to get the name at the very first. This is a very important step in the 5-step process for doing this. The next one for the R in NRAW is to repeat the name. Now, while you're standing there, you say, oh, yes, Judge Maddux, I'm glad to meet you. And so you're looking at me and we're talking to each other, and all that time, silently, don't stand there and say, Judge Maddux, Judge Maddux, Judge Maddux, but silently say this name over and over in your mind, and that will help you cement the mental image that you're going to take with you to be able to do this. Step number 4 is an A, and it means associate the name with a mental image. And that simply meant that you have to know you have to do steps 1, 2, and 3 first before you can do step 4 and associate the name with the mental image. The goal is to, when you see the face in the future, you will see this mental image impressed upon their face. It won't be physical, it'll be in your mind because you've studied their facial expression, you've studied their face over and over. So you study the person, their facial features, their height, their weight, and other things about their face. Use your imagination and be silly. And with this association, the sillier the association, the better that you're recalling it later is going to be. So you're looking at me, and I tell you my name's John Maddux. So you think, oh gosh, how am I going to remember John? John is a very common name, and it's one that you might think that you'd have trouble remembering. But remember I said, the more silly the mental image that you have of the word John, then the easier it's going to be for you to remember my first name the next time you meet me. So the name's John Maddux, and my last name is Maddux, and you can see where we're going with this. You can see a group of ducks that are out there mad at each other, and they're biting each other, and the feathers are flying, and so they're mad at each other. And by the way, there was a restaurant. How many of you are from Shelby County? Raise your hand. Okay, several. There was a restaurant in Memphis that was in the Peabody Hotel that was called the Ducks, and that was where people like to go and eat when they're there at the Peabody. But the Peabody's known for, guess what? They're ducks. They have live ducks that live on the top floor of the Peabody Hotel in Memphis, and every morning about 9 o'clock they'll bring the ducks down on the elevator, and they'll turn them loose in the pool that's right there. It's kind of a, I don't know, it's kind of a pool that's where the ducks can stay. They're there all day. At 4 o'clock they run them back upstairs, and they're back up there for the rest of the day. So, Mad Ducks, that's how you can remember my name. Now, you know the chairman here now is Gary McKenzie, and he's the man that's so responsible for all of this, and I wonder if you have any ideas about how you might think about Gary McKenzie. So you might think about Mac, Ken, and Z. And you know what kind of sandwich this is. We're not advertising, so don't tell me, but it is the Big Mac. And you can remember yourself when you see Judge McKenzie. You have my permission to call him Big Mac if you want to, but that's up to you. And then the Ken, that's a family get-together. This is not the McKenzies that are getting together. This is a bunch of hillbillies. some really wild looking stuff, and you can see right there on the front that that lady is picking her nose. This is not, like I say, the more silly, the easier it is to remember. So that's the kin, and then finally, you guessed what the law would be. I'm sorry, let me get back to McKenzie. The Z would be sleeping. So McKenzie, Judge McKenzie. Tell him hello from me. The next person that we have is Steve Law. Does anybody know who Steve Law is? Raise your hand if you do. Okay. He's the director of your program. He's the man that makes it work. He hires the staff. He puts together all the things that go right and all the things that go wrong. They're having a huge construction time during here on this campus, and it's made logistics during the campus really difficult. But Steve Law has jumped in there, and he has done a fabulous job. He's standing right here, and before you applaud him, I'm going to tell you about how you can think about him as the law. Hopefully none of you have ever had a run-in with the Highway Patrol. Most of those folks are really nice people, and they won't get you unless you're speeding or breaking the rules. But anyway, Steve Law is your director, and Gary McKenzie is your chairman, and I happen to be the vice chairman, and those names that I indicated are on the front, inside front of your blue book. So Steve Law is right here. I don't think he has his Highway Patrol car with him, but he does have a big smile on his face. Let's give it up for Steve Law. What do you say? Thank you, Steve. And so the fifth part of the letters of this acronym are W. And what you need to do there is to write the name down. If you meet somebody impressive, you want to remember them for a long time, you have their mental image in your mind, you know what their name is, write their name down and remember how to do that. And that's a gift that you give to yourself. I mean, all of you can do this, and this is really something that is something that's really good for you. So what you can do is carry a small notepad with you. You can get one of the American Legion Boys State rosters. I think they do that during the week. I'm not completely sure about that. Consult your Boys State ebook website, and as you know, things that are worth doing are worth practicing. And practice, practice, practice. That is the key to anything that you're going to do. And that's the key to remembering names and faces. And so, 5 easy steps. Be interested, get the name, repeat the name, associate the name with the mental image, and write it down. And the acronym is NRAW. I don't know whether you're going to have any trouble remembering that or not. That's up to you. But that's how you do this, NRAW. And I just have one more statement that I want to make, and that is, Boys State. Don't quit. Boys State. Don't quit. Congratulations, man.